Good morning, everybody. We've got our first book of 2025 today, and it's a good one. These next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking in our crew circles about being trustworthy and being honest. Those are things you've probably heard a lot of your life. Tell the truth. I want to be able to trust you. And so those would be good things for us to dive into together as a community and be able to find out, how do we make ourselves trustworthy to others so that they trust that we will be honest with them, and the importance of being honest in general for the good of the community. So this is a wonderful book. I had never read it before, but it was recommended to me. I think you're really going to like it. It's called The Honest to Goodness Truth. Got very cute pictures in it. This is our main character right here, and it is written by Patricia McKissack, illustrated by Giselle Potter, sorry. So it's got really cute illustrations. I want to make sure I say her name right. All right, The Honest to Goodness Truth. Libby hurried out the door and down the porch steps. "Did you feed and water old boss?" Mama called from her sewing room window. Libby stopped at the gate. "Yes, Mama," she answered. She was surprised how easy the lie slid out of her mouth, like it was greased with warm butter. So it looks like old boss is the horse that is in the pasture. And when Mama asked, "Did you feed him?" she said, "Oh yeah, I did, but that was not the truth." Mama stopped sewing Virginia Washington's wedding dress and came outside. Libby dropped her head and wouldn't look in her mother's eyes. "Are you sure?" Mama asked, real stern-like. "Speak the truth and shame the devil." Libby opened her mouth, but Mama placed a finger in the air as a signal for her to stop. "Libby Louise Sullivan, I'll ask you once more and again. Did you feed and water old boss?" Libby's stomach felt like she'd swallowed a handful of chicken feathers. Her eyes commenced to fill with water and her bottom lip quivered. Then, taking a deep breath and gulping hard, she owned up to her lie. "I was gonna do it as soon as I got back from jumping rope with Ruthie Mae." Oh, so there's a lot going on here. Mama asked her one more time, "Did you do it?" And when she asked her, Libby felt kind of sick to her stomach. Sometimes we get that feeling if we've done something wrong. And she got nervous, her eyes filled with tears, but she decided she was going to own up to it, and she did. She said, "No, I didn't actually feed the horse." Do you think she made the right choice to go ahead and tell the truth? Libby felt a lot better, even though Mama punished her double. For not tending to old boss, Libby couldn't go play with Ruthie Mae. And for lying, she had to stay on the porch the rest of the day. It was the first time Libby had lied to Mama. And as far as she was concerned, it was going to be the last. From now on, only the truth, she decided. Libby started her truth-telling come Sunday morning. So I love this part because it says Libby felt a lot better. She ends up telling the truth, and she feels better even though she got punished. She got 2 punishments. She couldn't play with her friend, and she had to stay on the porch all day. One punishment for telling, for not feeding the horse, and the other for telling a lie. But she felt better. Sometimes it's just good to come clean and admit when you've done something. All right, so she says, "I will never tell anything but the truth." Let's see how she does. All the children from Bryersville were gathered outside the small church, waiting on Sunday school to begin. Everybody was admiring Ruthie Mae's new dress and matching hat when Libby came skipping up. "Morning, everybody. Morning, Ruthie Mae," she spoke all nice. "I like your outfit. It's real pretty. But you've got a hole in your sock." All eyes went from the hat to the dress to the hole. Meanwhile, Libby skipped up the steps and inside the church without even noticing the hurt on her best friend's face. Here's Ruthie Mae, beautiful dress, beautiful hat, tiny hole. And there's Libby, who pointed it out to the whole group. Service ended, and same as always, Libby asked Ruthie Mae to walk home. "No, no, and no again," Ruthie Mae glared at her. Libby was purely surprised. "What'd I do? You told the world I had a hole in my sock?" "It was the truth," Libby pronounced, feeling satisfied. "It was plain mean," replied Ruthie Mae, and she hurried away. Libby looked at the idea from the outside in and then from the inside out as she walked home alone. By the time she trudged up the steps, she was still confused. So remember, she made a pledge that she was going to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. And she's done that, but when she told the truth about that sock, it just caused her friend to have some really hurt feelings and get embarrassed. So now Libby's a little confused. She's thinking, was I right to tell the truth in that case? Let's find out. The next morning, Libby joined a group of friends on the way to school. "Did you do your geography homework?" Willie asked Libby. "It was easy," she answered. "Not for me," Willie shook his head. "I didn't understand it, so I didn't do it." So they're walking. This is her friend Willie. He said the work was confusing. He didn't do it. We've probably done that sometimes. First thing in class, Libby started waving her hand. "Me, Miss Jackson, me, Miss Jackson." When the teacher called on her, Libby announced, "Willie don't got his geography homework." "Doesn't have his homework," corrected Miss Jackson. "No, ma'am, he don't." Libby was pleased with herself. Willie gave her an ugly look. "Why'd you tell on me?" he whispered as he headed to Miss Jackson's desk to explain. With certainty, she whispered back, "All I did was tell it like it is, so there." She folded her hands neatly in her lap. All right, so just as soon as she gets to class, she tells the teacher her friend did not do his homework. And that made him pretty upset. Is it true that he didn't do his homework? But did she need to tell that truth? Let's see. Before lunchtime, Libby had told a lot of truths. She reminded everyone how Daisy had forgotten her Christmas speech and cried in front of all the parents. She told how Charlesta had gotten a spanking for stealing peaches off Miss Stacy's tree. And the whole class knew that Thomas didn't have lunch money and had to borrow some from Miss Jackson. Boy, these things she's telling, a friend crying, a friend getting spanked, a little boy, a friend who's got to borrow lunch money, those sound like kind of private, personal things that you might want a close friend to know, but maybe not everybody. Do you think Libby is a little confused about what telling the truth might be? I think so. By the time school was out, hardly anyone would talk to her. "Why y'all so mad at me?" Libby asked as her classmates started home without her. On Libby's way home, She wondered why her stomach felt just as fluttery as it did when she'd told the lie. "I promised Mama I would tell the truth no matter how much it hurt," she reassured herself glumly. "That's all I done." Glumly means sadly. So she's saying she's pretty sad. Nobody wants to be around her. And she's got that feeling in her stomach that we get when we've done something wrong. Maybe you feel it kind of in your heart or in your stomach. It's like, I don't think I'm doing the right thing. It's like your body's way or your conscience way of telling you maybe you need to change things. But she wonders, why am I feeling this way? I'm telling the truth. That's what I was supposed to do. Before Libby knew it, she was in front of Ms. Tussleberry's vine-covered cottage. The woman was in her rocking chair, gliding back and forward and fanning herself with a hand-folded fan. "How do, Libby Louise?" she called in her sing-song voice. "What's that sad look you wearing on such a pretty day?" Libby jumped right in with what was bothering her. "Can the truth be wrong?" she asked. "Oh, no," Miss Tussleberry said, fanning faster. "Truth is never wrong. Always, always tell the truth." "That's what I thought," Libby said, a smile of relief lighting up her face. If you feel relieved about something, you feel like, whew, I don't have to worry about that anymore. So a smile of relief. Grown-ups are telling her, always tell the truth. Miss Tussleberry leaned over the railing to pluck a blossom from one of the vines that grew all over her yard and upper house. "Don't you think my garden is lovely?" Libby thought on it. Ordinarily, she would have said yes, for fear of sounding sassy. But that wasn't the truth. So, polite as you please, she answered, "Miss Tussleberry, truly and honestly, your garden looks like a jungle." "Well, I declare," Miss Tussleberry gasped. "Don't be mad," Libby pleaded. But it was too late. Miss Tussleberry rushed inside her house and slammed the door. All right, she was asked a question. "Do you love my garden? Is it beautiful?" And she's like, "Well, I better tell the truth. No, it kind of looks like a jungle." And now she's upset another person. Even though Mama was busy putting the finishing touches on Virginia Washington's wedding dress, she still took the time to listen to Libby's problem. I love that. That's what parents do. "I feel something awful. My friends don't like me no more." "Anymore," repeated her mother. "No, they don't. And just 'cause I told the truth." The girl sighed deeply. Handing her needle and thread, or needle to thread, Mama asked gently, "Are you sure they're mad at you for telling the truth?" "I think so," said Libby. "Willie was mad as a hornet when I told Miss Jackson he didn't have his homework, and Miss Tussleberry got plenty upset when I said her garden looked like a jungle." Mama smiled. "Oh, I see." Then putting down her work, she took Libby's hand, saying, "Sometimes the truth can be told at the wrong time, or in the wrong way, or for the wrong reasons. And that can be hurtful. But the honest-to-goodness truth is never wrong." Then Mama went back to stitching and pulling and stitching and pulling. Oh, Mama's got some good words of wisdom there. Sometimes the truth can be told for the wrong reason, in the wrong place, at the wrong time, and that is the hurtful kind. Libby walked to the barn to feed and water old Boss, all the time trying to get an understanding of her mother's words. Just then, Virginia Washington sashayed out of the fields and past the barn, come for the final fitting of her wedding dress. As she watched Libby brush old Boss, Virginia burst into laughter. That horse is older than black pepper, she said, shaking her head. I doubt you could get $1 for that flea-ridden swayback. And she flounced off toward the house. Don't say those things about old Boss, Libby called after her, throwing her arms around the horse's neck for a hug. She knew he wasn't the fine carriage horse he had once been. But why did Virginia have to point that out? Oh. Now Libby thought back on her own truth-telling, and Mama's words suddenly became crystal clear. So Ms. Virginia Washington said maybe the truth about this old horse. Yeah, he's old. Maybe he's sway-backed. Maybe nobody would want to buy him. But it was a hurtful truth, and this time it hurt Libby. Was that the wrong truth at the wrong time? I think so. And so now she understands what Mama was saying. The next day, Libby caught up with her friends on the way to school. She told Ruthie Mae, "You did have a hole in your sock, but I could have explained it to you instead of hollering out for... I could have explained it and whispered it to you instead of hollering out for everyone to hear. I'm so sorry." Ruthie Mae smiled. "You finally got it," she said. Libby apologized to Willie, too. "I should have let you tell Miss Jackson about your own homework. That was unfair. Besides, nobody asked me in the first place." "That's all right. But hey," he added, "do you think you could help me with my geography homework?" "No problem," said Libby. Okay, very good. She's getting a little wiser. She said, "Yeah, Ruthie Mae, I should have whispered that to you and not said it in front of everybody. And Willie, you could have told Miss Jackson the truth about your homework. That was not my job or my place to do it. Nobody even asked her." Later, Libby talked to all the other victims of her truth-telling to make things right. But there was one more person she had to see. On the way home, she headed straight for Ms. Tussleberry's house. Libby found her neighbor out front, down on all fours, pulling up flowers, snatching up vines by the roots. When Miss Tussleberry saw her, she wiped her brow with the back of her hand and flashed a full smile. "I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings yesterday," Libby said. "Libby Louise, you were right," Miss Tussleberry replied. "This place had gone completely and uncontrollably wild." "But you were so mad at me." Miss Tussleberry waved a dismissive hand. "The truth is often hard to chew. But if it's sweetened with love, then it's a little easier to swallow." She's got some good advice, too. She said, "Yeah, my garden did look bad. I needed to fix it. And it hurt my feelings a little, but it was a truth I needed to hear." And then she tells her, if you tell that truth with love, it's a little easier to hear. Libby really did understand this time. She picked up a hoe and began helping. "Things are really looking pretty good around here," she said, and that was the honest-to-goodness truth. And there she is being a helper. She's a really good kid. She does a lot of helping, a lot of nice things in this book. But she got a little confused about the right kind of truth to tell. And I just really love the message of this book. You do need to tell the truth, and you should always be honest. But you need to do so in a way, in a time, and a place that is done with care and consideration for who you're talking to. If your friend asks you, "Hey, how does this new jacket look on me?" And maybe that jacket doesn't look good because it's way too small. You could just let them know in a kind way, "Hey, I really like that jacket. It looks like it might be a little small." And you could tell them that privately, as opposed to saying in front of the whole class, "Hey, look at her jacket. It's way too small. It doesn't look right." So, thinking about the time and the place for saying things, telling the truth for the right reason. It doesn't mean that you lie, but it means that you say things that need to be heard with love. And if it's not your place to tell that truth, like in the case of Willie's homework, it wasn't her place to tell it, then you don't need to volunteer to tell it either. But when you're asked directly a question, like at the very beginning of the book, when she forgot or she chose not to feed her little horse and lied about it, it is best to just come out and tell it like she did. She ended up feeling better, even though she got a punishment for it. That's something I hope we all understand. We all make mistakes. We all do the wrong thing from time to time. But when we are honest and say, yes, I did this and I'm sorry, and take our consequence, we really do feel better inside. All right. I hope you loved that book. I loved it. I thought it was really well written and great pictures and a really good message. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will be back next week with another great book.